After moving in, my husband's family told me I was responsible for all house chores, even in their homes. When I refused, they stopped speaking to me. My husband shrugged, just do it to keep the peace. Instead, I did something else. The next family gathering, they got a surprise that left them speechless. I never imagined that marrying James would mean inheriting a set of expectations that felt like they were from another era. When we moved to his hometown of Charleston, South Carolina, I was hopeful about building a life together, unaware of the storm that awaited me within his family. Charleston's charm is undeniable: cobblestone streets, historic homes, and the scent of salt in the air. But beneath this picturesque facade, I encountered traditions that clashed with my values. James's family was large and deeply rooted in their customs. Sunday dinners at his parents' grand home were non-negotiable gatherings. It was during one of these dinners that his mother, Margaret, pulled me aside. "Dear," she began, her tone sweet but firm, "in our family, the women handle the household duties. It's just how we've always done things." I was taken aback. "Margaret, I respect your traditions, but James and I believe in sharing responsibilities equally." She offered a tight-lipped smile. "That's nice in theory, but here we honor our ways." James remained silent during this exchange, which only deepened my frustration. As weeks passed, the pressure mounted. Margaret began assigning me tasks, not just in her home, but also suggesting I help James's siblings with their chores. The expectation was clear: I was to serve the family. One evening, after a particularly taxing day, I confronted James. "James, your family expects me to manage all the household chores, even at your siblings' homes. This isn't what we discussed." He sighed, avoiding my gaze. "I know it's not ideal, but maybe you could go along with it to keep the peace." His words felt like a betrayal. Keep the peace? At the cost of my self-respect? Tensions escalated. Family gatherings became uncomfortable, with whispered remarks and cold glances directed my way. Eventually, the invitations stopped altogether. Feeling isolated, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I reached out to James's younger sister, Emily, who had always been more progressive. "Emily, would you like to grab coffee sometime?" She agreed, and over lattes, I shared my feelings. "I've noticed the strain," she admitted. "Mom can be traditional, but some of us are open to change." Buoyed by her support, I devised a plan. The next family gathering was a 4th of July barbecue at Margaret's. I decided to make a statement. On the day of the barbecue, I arrived with a dish that was sure to stand out: a spicy jambalaya, a nod to my Creole heritage. The aroma was intoxicating, drawing attention as soon as I entered. Margaret approached, eyeing the dish. "What's this, dear?" "Jambalaya," I replied with a smile. "A family recipe." As the family sampled the dish, compliments poured in. Even Margaret seemed impressed. "This is delightful," she admitted. "You must share the recipe." Seizing the moment, I responded, "I'd be happy to." Cooking is a passion of mine, and I believe everyone should have the chance to share their favorite dishes. Perhaps we could start a new tradition where each family member contributes to our gatherings. A silence fell over the group. Then, to my surprise, Emily spoke up. "I think that's a wonderful idea. It would bring us closer and take the pressure off any one person." Others nodded in agreement. Margaret hesitated, then sighed. "Very well. We can give it a try." From that day forward, family events became collaborative efforts. The rigid expectations began to dissolve, replaced by mutual respect and shared responsibilities. James apologized for his earlier stance, and our relationship grew stronger. Standing my ground had not only changed the dynamics within the family, but also reinforced the importance of mutual respect in relationships. Sources: at first, it felt like I had won. People started bringing dishes. Margaret didn't say much, but she didn't stop me either. I thought we had turned a corner. I was wrong. A month later, we were invited to James's cousin's baby shower. It was at his Aunt Diane's place. This woman was Margaret's twin in every way. She even walked and talked like her. Diane greeted me at the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, you didn't bring anything?" Usually the women bring snacks and help set up early. I forced a smile. I wasn't asked to. I came as a guest. She blinked. Then, right there, turned to the woman next to her and said loud enough for half the porch to hear, "Some women these days think they're too good to lift a finger." I laughed it off. I wasn't going to let this get to me. But inside, something cracked. After that, things got colder. Margaret stopped texting. James's sister Emily kept in touch, but even she seemed nervous, like she didn't want to be caught siding with me too much. James? He went quiet again. Every time I brought it up, he'd say, "It'll blow over." It didn't. Then, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, James's mom sent him a group message for the entire family. It included me. Thanksgiving dinner this year is at our house. Everyone is expected to bring their assigned dish. As always, the daughters-in-law will come early to help with prep and cleaning. I stared at the message. No discussion. No warning. No asking. Just, as always, like I hadn't said a damn thing the last time. I looked at James. "Are you going to say something?" He read the message. Shrugged. "She's just being herself. Maybe just do it. It's one day." One day? One day to wipe out every bit of progress I'd fought for? I didn't respond to the message. Instead, I waited. Thanksgiving morning came, and I didn't show up early. James went ahead, saying he'd cover for me. Whatever that meant. I showed up 2 hours late with a store-bought pie. Everyone was already seated. The tension in that room when I walked in was thick enough to slice. Margaret didn't even look at me. Diane shot me a glance like I'd brought roadkill in a pie tin. I set it down on the counter and smiled at nobody in particular. "Sorry I'm late. Hope I didn't miss anything." Nobody spoke. James stood in the corner like a statue. Then it began. Margaret clinked her wine glass. "Before we eat, I just want to thank everyone for showing up, especially the women who helped prepare this meal." She looked right at me, "and those who understand what family means." Diane let out a low I said nothing, just smiled. But inside, my hands were trembling. I stayed quiet through dinner, barely ate. I left early. When we got home, James tried to say I was overreacting. I snapped. "Do you realize what your family is doing? They're freezing me out, punishing me for not being their maid. And you're just letting it happen." He didn't know what to say. He never did. The next week, I went quiet too. I needed time. Space. I started going out more, by myself. Coffee shops, libraries, long walks down Broad Street just to clear my head. That's when I ran into Emily. Alone. No husband, no kids, just her in line at a local bakery. She looked nervous. "Hey." I nodded. "Hi." She bit her lip. "Can we talk?" We sat outside the bakery with coffee and pastries. She leaned in and whispered like someone might be listening. "Mom has been talking a lot. She says you're trying to ruin tradition. That you're turning James against the family." I almost laughed. "So I'm the villain now?" She doesn't see it that way. She says, if you're not with the family, you're against it. I looked her dead in the eyes. "And what about James? What's he saying?" She hesitated. "He's been quiet. Avoiding the topic. It's making things worse." Of course he was. But Emily wasn't done. She glanced around, leaned in closer. "There's more. Margaret's been meeting with Diane. They're planning something for Christmas." My stomach turned. "What kind of something?" She shook her head. "I don't know. But they said, if she won't be one of us, she shouldn't be here." That line stuck with me. Shouldn't be here? Was I being pushed out? Emily gave me a sad look before leaving. "I'm sorry. I just thought you should know." When I got home, I sat in my car for 10 full minutes. My hands were clenched around the steering wheel. I wasn't just fighting for respect anymore. I was fighting for my place in this marriage, in this family, in this life I had moved across the country to build. And I wasn't going to lose. Not without one hell of a fight. After that talk with Emily, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I know how that sounds paranoid, but I started noticing things. Margaret suddenly knew about places I'd been. Restaurants. Stores. She'd make comments to James like, "I heard she's been out and about a lot lately," followed by some fake smile. James said maybe someone from church mentioned it. But we hadn't even gone to church in weeks. Then came the emails. Not from Margaret. From an anonymous account. At first it was just short messages. Some people don't belong. You married into this. Play your role. Then one day, watch yourself before you're watching from the outside. I showed James. He said it was probably spam. Just block it, he muttered. I did. But that didn't stop the feeling. Like the walls were closing in. I tried to act normal. Kept going to work. Kept making dinner. But part of me started pulling back. And the more I pulled back, the more James leaned into his family. Suddenly he was stopping by his mom's place on the way home. She just needs help with a few things, he said. Then one day I found a folder in our home office. It had printouts of property listings. Homes. In Margaret's handwriting. The note on top? For James, if he decides to come home. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. I didn't say anything right away. I took a photo of it. Put the folder back exactly how I found it. Then I called Emily. You were right, I said. They're trying to take him away from me. Emily was silent on the phone for a while. Then she said something I didn't expect. There's something else. I wasn't supposed to tell you. I waited. She took a shaky breath. There's a trust. A family trust. Margaret set it up years ago. It pays out to each son, but only if they stay active in the family. That includes attending all major events, marrying within the community, and following family values. I blinked. Wait, are you saying James is getting paid to go along with this? Emily whispered, not paid directly. But if he gets cut off, he loses a lot. His part of the inheritance, for one. His share of the old family land. I sat in silence, trying to steady my breathing. So this wasn't just about dishes and family dinners. It was about control. About money. I hung up. And I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat down and made a list. Things I'd tolerated. Times I'd stayed quiet. Ways I'd bent myself to fit into this image they wanted. And then I started planning. 2 weeks before Christmas, I invited James to dinner. Just the two of us. A nice restaurant on the edge of town, quiet, dim lights, the kind of place you go when you're about to say something serious. He thought I was going to apologize. He sat there with that half-guilty, half-smug face like he was about to win something. Instead, I slid the photo of the trust document across the table. He stared at it. Didn't touch it. You've been playing both sides, I said. Letting them disrespect me while cashing in on their approval. I didn't ask for any of this, he said, finally. I just wanted peace. I shook my head. No. You wanted comfort. You wanted your inheritance, your family's approval, your wife doing all the chores while pretending this life wasn't eating her alive. He had no words. I stood up, tossed some cash on the table, and walked out. I didn't leave him. Not yet. But I did go home and start packing a bag. Just in case. And then I made a call. Emily again. You said they were planning something for Christmas. Do you know what it is yet? She hesitated. A formal dinner. At the house. Big guest list. Extended family. Church friends. Everyone. I smiled. Good. I'll be there. Because this time, I had a plan. And they had no idea what was coming. I spent the next 2 weeks in silence. James didn't ask where I was going when I left the house early or came back late. He was too busy trying to act like nothing was wrong. Maybe he was hoping I'd just let it go. Or maybe he was scared. Didn't matter. Because while he was at his mom's house, helping with Christmas prep, I was making calls, collecting documents, and putting together something they never saw coming. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to expose them. Christmas Day. Their house was glowing like something out of a holiday movie. The tree was massive, lights blinking in perfect rhythm. Dozens of people were there, cousins, uncles, old neighbors, friends from their country club. I wore red. Full glam. Hair done. Heels clicking. I looked like I belonged in their world, just long enough to make them drop their guard. James looked stunned when I walked in. Margaret looked like she swallowed a lemon. She still fake smiled. Oh, you made it. I smiled back. Wouldn't miss it. I let them wine me, seat me, smile for fake photos. I let them think they'd won. Until dessert. Margaret stood with her wine glass. Before we bring out the pies, I just want to thank everyone for being here and for supporting the traditions that hold this family together. Polite applause. Smiles. Nods. Then I stood. Actually, I'd like to say something too. The room went quiet. I pulled a stack of papers from my purse. Slowly, calmly. This is a copy of the Douglas Family Trust Agreement, I said. For those who don't know, the sons in this family are rewarded financially for keeping certain traditions alive, including marrying women who serve the family. A few people gasped. Some shifted in their seats. James looked like he'd just been electrocuted. I kept going. This document includes clauses requiring the wives to adhere to generational values. A phrase that basically means be quiet, stay in the kitchen, and raise the babies. Margaret stepped forward. You've made your point. That's enough, I cut her off. Oh, I'm not done. Because here's a copy of the emails I received from an anonymous account. And here's proof that the IP address traces back to your house. I checked with an IT expert. So whoever's been sending me threats? You weren't even smart enough to cover your tracks. More gasps. People whispering now. I looked straight at James. And you. You let them harass me. You chose silence, comfort, and money over your own wife. I begged you to stand up for me. You didn't. So now I'm standing up for myself. James tried to speak. It wasn't about the money. Save it, I said. You wanted peace? You got it. Because after today, I'm gone. Dead silence. I looked at Margaret. You wanted me to play the role? Congratulations. I played it long enough to expose every lie in this room. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. I moved into a short-term rental that same night. Filed for divorce the week after. Sent James one last message. You didn't just lose a wife. You lost someone who was willing to fight for you. You chose the family that never saw me as human. And me? I learned something about myself. I'd tried too hard to belong. I'd bent myself backward to prove I was good enough, and in the process, I lost pieces of myself. That's on me. But once I found my voice again, I made sure no one could silence it. Not again. Margaret still sends Christmas cards. Never signed. Just mailed. I keep them in a drawer. Not out of hate. Just as a reminder. Of what I survived. Of who I became. And of the exact moment I decided never to let someone else write my story again.